The surly curmudgeon, watching out for the young'uns.
Hey world, I'm the surly curmudgeon, and I'm here to help you. Oh, this time I'm talking about people who are debunking the Mandela Effect. Man, what a bunch of goofs. I mean, these people range from gently respectful but condescending to complete cunts. Oh, man. I did a search on YouTube. All I hit was keywords, Mandela Effect debunked. I took the first page of videos that came up, and I watched them, and it's just amazing how stupid these people are because they don't understand what they have to debunk. They don't even look at, like, what do I have to debunk here? The problem isn't that things have changed. The problem is that thousands of people have the exact same memory of things being different. Now, everybody has memory issues. I mean, the human brain isn't a video recorder. It's one of the problems we have in court. 6 people see an accident, 6 different stories. But if thousands of people, remember, like with Berenstain, okay? The problem isn't, I remember it one way or another. The problem with Berenstain is, and myself and several other people have this same problem, is I remember when I first picked up that book asking myself, is it Berenstain or Berenstain? Because the Jews can never make up their minds on the spelling and the pronunciation. Had it been Stain, I assure you that question would not have come to mind. And that is the only reason I remember those books. I used to read them to my kid's sister or something when she was 2. And the only reason it stuck in my mind is because there was the books didn't stick in my mind. The question about the pronunciation stuck in my mind. And every Jew whose name ended in Stein or Steen that I've run into since, I have ribbed them about it, sometimes gently, sometimes not. I remember my friend Sandy Horstein, Puerto Rican Jew. Did you know there was such a thing? I was ribbing her about her pronunciation of her name. Said, no, you're saying it wrong. And she says, no, the E-I-N is always een. And I said, oh, yeah, like that most famous of all Jews, Albert Einstein. That guy, right, I remember, okay. I mean, this has been an ongoing argument for me with every frickin' Jew I've ever met who pronounced it wrong. And so that's why the book stuck in my mind. Not because, oh, is it iron or ain or whatever, I remember how it was spelled. No. And when I look at Mandela Effect reports, a lot of these simply rely on memory. And it's memory that was not in some way important. All right? So those you really can't. You can't rely on a memory that wasn't in some way important at the time you remembered it. Like Jif versus Jiffy. Okay, I remember Choosy Mothers Choose Jif was the commercial. I think it was Annette Funicello. I remember Skippy Peanut Butter. And it's easy to confuse those two. So we see a lot of debunkers that they do bullshit like, oh, well, you're remembering Skippy, which sounds a lot like Jif, and Jiffy is a natural word from Jif. No, they're not addressing the real problem. They're just being idiots. So let me go over a few of these idiots for you. Some of them are sweetly misguided. Some of them are fucking assholes. Gabulosis. Gabulosis, honey, you're cute, but she goes with, both versions are correct, and you're just misremembering J.C. Penney. Well, in my reality, it's always been P-E-N-N-E-Y. The English surname Penny has always had 2 E's in it. But that's just my timeline, or whatever the hell's going on here. Who knows? But she says, oh no, all you people are just misremembering it. And she never addresses the huge numbers of identical false memories. New World Agenda. Now his story is pretty original, although he's a complete prick. I mean, he's just an absolute cunt. I wanted to drive to his house and just kick his teeth in. He was such a dick. He says, the New World Order is trying to convince people they've misremembered stuff and then believe that the New World Order has the power to actually change reality. I thought that was kind of cool. That's not a bad conspiracy theory as conspiracy theories go. But again, he ducks all the hard stuff. He dismisses Berenstain as not worth addressing. He totally ignores the Ford logo problem. We have one of the guys from, I think he sounded English. He's got an excellent video of Jay Leno looking over a car, and they got the hood open on the car, and on the valve cover, you can see the Ford logo as I and thousands of other people remember it. And it has no bearing, no resemblance whatsoever to the Ford logo, any of the Ford logos on the Ford company website, because they lay out the history of here's what the logos look like over the years. Now, some people will tell you, oh, well, that's a Ford knockoff or aftermarket. Okay, first of all, if it were aftermarket, Ford would sue the hell out of that company for using the Ford logo, or for using the Ford name, and for a deliberate counterfeit, because there's money to be made in a lawsuit like that. Right? See, they don't just get the profit that they made from the knockoff products. They'll win all the millions and millions of dollars of damage it did to the Ford brand. Secondly, there is no money in knockoff valve covers. Nobody knocks off valve covers. Let me say it again. Nobody knocks off valve covers. It is a stamped part. It costs thousands of dollars to tool up to stamp a heavy aluminum part like that. And then you're going to sell what? 1,000 a year? Maybe? No, the only company that sells those valve covers is the same damn company that made the originals. You know, if Ford ordered 1 million of them, they'd make, 1.2 million, stick the rest in a warehouse, and sell them off over the years. Sheesh. But no, New World Agenda, he doesn't deal with any of that. He simply insists that what happened in the records of this timeline, for lack of a better term, is what happened. And everyone who remembers it differently is just wrong. He says companies tweak their logos all the time. Don't waste your time with this. You can check their websites, and they proudly display every logo that they've ever used, and you can see that he's wrong. They do not tweak their logos all the time. They work very hard on brand loyalty and recognition. Coke spends, oh Lord, I heard an interview with the guy on the radio. It's a huge number. It's like $500 million a year just on brand recognition all around the world. And they do that so that everybody knows what Coke is everywhere at all times. They always know what Coke is, and they always recognize the logo. To do that, you can't change the logo often. Ford in their entire history has used like 10, 12 logos. That's a change every 10 years. And the changes have been teeny, teeny, tiny. They have not done big dramatic changes, at least not since about the 50s, when companies really learned about marketing. All right, so this guy's just wrong about logos. He understands nothing about business. He calls everyone looking into the Mandela Effect evidence a retard or a shill. Okay, retard I get. I can see why if you don't bother to look at the problem, you just think, well, you're just an idiot. But a shill? A shill is someone who is a false customer, false contestant. They're pretending to be someone other than they are for the benefit of a third party. Like, years ago, I was hired to shill at a best legs contest at a club when I was young and handsome. So I took my shorts with me, and that night they had probably 3 or 4 actual contestants from the crowd, and 6 or 7 of us shills they had paid to be there to make sure that when they had their sexy legs contest, somebody actually got out on the stage and showed up. That's what a shill is. I wasn't really a contestant. I wasn't going to win, and I was paid to be there to make things look different than they really were. That's what a shill is. But you shill for someone. You don't shill for yourself. It's always you shill for this person, for this company. He doesn't say who it might be shilling for. So I don't know what his theory is, but it's a pile of shit. Let's see. YouTube user, The Truth Shall Make You Free, simply says Fiona Broome is a nut job and spends a lot of time trying to show how she was just a nut job, looking at, she's a ghost researcher or something like that. Like that makes her a nut job. And that memory is malleable and unreliable. He tells us we have to do our own research, but he has not done his. He's a complete cunt, only watches video if you've got time to waste. Michael Stroop. He was a little more respectful about it. Actually, I found nothing really objectionable about the guy. But when he works on, say, the Star Wars Mandela Effect, he ignores all the evidence we have that the line was originally not, "No, I'm your father." We have all this evidence that the line actually was something else, including James Earl Jones in an interview saying, when I read this line, I'm your father, Luke, or whatever it is. But he ignores all the evidence we have. And it's conflicting evidence. That's the problem, isn't that things have changed, it's that we have conflicting evidence. He also doesn't even try to take on the effects for which we have residuals, and he just declares the whole thing a psyop. But he doesn't say who's doing the psyop and what they hope to gain from it. I mean, at least this New World Agenda asshole, he at least had a fairly complete theory as to what was going on. His theory fails to address relevant information, but that's most of science. Let's see. YouTube user, Face Like the Sun. If you believe the Bible has changed, you've lost trust in the Word of God. Yes. Well, okay, the Bible itself contains a warning against changing it. Okay? Which means that God himself said that the Bible could be changed, and you really shouldn't do that. And we have plenty of evidence before the Mandela came around that changes have been made to the Bible. Edits have been made to the Bible. I can remember, hey, if anybody else remembers this verse or can tell me where it is, let me know. There's a verse that, dog, shut up. There's a verse that stuck in my mind years ago, two of them actually. I believe it was Moses was talking, and it's like the intro to a sermon he's going to lay out. And he says, our ancestors before the flood, who built with tar and iron, blah, 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 blah. Well, in the footnotes in my Bible, it said alternate translation, asphalt and steel. Oh, you like the little guy? Yeah, he's cute, isn't he? It said alternate translation, asphalt and steel. It's like, wow. They had a society before the flood where they built with asphalt and steel, just like us. And I found that very interesting about pre-flood. This is 25 years ago. And I brought it up at church, and other people, they didn't even have to look it up. Yeah, I've read that line, and I thought that was pretty cool that they had a society like that. Okay, so there's whole discussions about this verse with other. Just last year, I talked to a guy, said, hey, do you remember this verse? He says, I started it and had him finish. I said, our ancestors before the flood, and he said, who built with tar and iron. Okay? This verse is known. It's not in any Bible I can find. I've emailed, asked the rabbi, say, hey, you got some 80-year-old guy who's got the damn thing memorized who can tell me this line must exist. There have been whole discussions on this line by multiple people who knew the line existed. It was once in the Bible, and it isn't there anymore. Not only that, I know that the Bible has been edited because when God wrote the moral law in the Torah, and I'm a Christian, I believe that at least the first 5 books of the Bible were dictated letter by letter. All right. But when God wrote the moral laws about sex, he forgot to say, thou shalt not boink children. There is no more destructive thing you can do to a human being that I know of. Okay? So if there was a perfect moral law, then it got edited. If he left that out, he's an idiot who doesn't care that children have been fucked throughout history and does not deserve to be worshipped. However, we know that he does care about that because in Isaiah, I believe it's Isaiah 2, you can look me up on this, he tells all the children of Jacob, lost 10 tribes, Jews, everybody, he says, I'm done with you. I have forsaken you because you please yourselves in the children of strangers. Right? So in Isaiah, we see that child fucking is bad enough to get God to completely abandon an entire ethnic group. Which, by the way, means there are no chosen people any longer. There simply aren't. Okay? Just FYI. But see, the Bible has been changed. So when you run into these things where people are taking on the Mandela Effect and say, I'll debunk the Mandela Effect. If the Bible had been changed, then God isn't perfect. But you can't rely on the Bible. But you can rely on the Bible. Therefore, the Bible hasn't been changed. It's totally circular logic. The term fucking idiot really does apply here. So Face Like the Sun, you're a prick and an idiot and an asshole and any other negative I can come up with. I'll find it. Connecting dots too. oh, this guy is such a fucking cunt. Cunt. Connecting dots to, you are a cunt. Ah, I have. He says everything's bad memory. He uses lots of ridicule and sarcasm, but no facts. And he spends time on this. And he doesn't address the real problems that people are pointing out or the residuals that show that they're not misremembering, like the Ford logo on the valve cover I told you about. Including books that still exist that tell us Nelson Mandela died in the early 90s. Now, people have dug this stuff up. He just says, you've got a problem remembering fact. And he's really contemptible for the contempt that he pours out on serious people. He says he's going after the juiciest Mandela effects, but he ignores the ones that have actual proof that something was actually different, like the Ford logo. He's such a dick. I challenged him to a debate. He claims that he debunks commenters who call him names in his comments, so I called him a shithead to call him out. We'll see what happens. Connecting dots to, you're a dick. Road to Wisdom. YouTube user Road to Wisdom. Same bullshit. Doesn't examine the evidence for. He just takes a claim and treats it as if it were unsupported and says, you're just remembering it wrong, without considering what an amazingly stupid claim he's making, that thousands or millions of people can have the exact same false memory. Yeah. SEFD Science. He does the whole straw man thing just like most of these other people do. Doesn't address any of the real problems. Oh, man. But the common thread with all these debunkers is they don't address any of the actual evidence. Okay, Google Mandela Effect residuals to learn the vast body of evidence that something has changed. They don't address the impossibility of thousands of people having the exact same false memory. Everyone has mistakes in their memory. That's a given. But for two people to have the exact same mistake is unlikely. And for thousands to have the exact same mistake is impossible. It's just impossible. And the memory, the changes we're talking about are complex enough that when somebody says, well, no, I remember it this way, no, I remember it that way, the existence of the two memories, in many cases, can be resolved. In the important cases, especially where there are residuals, cannot be resolved. Right? The Ford logo is one. Berenstain Bears is one. Because, like I said, the memory of Berenstain would not exist in my mind if there had not been a question of how to pronounce EIN. So I wouldn't even remember that stupid book. And so these are the common threads that YouTube debunkers are using. There's one guy I want to give kudos to. Shoot, I didn't write his username down. He goes through the list of Bible Mandela effects, and he debunks. Well, he debunks all of them he deals with, but I didn't try to take a list and compare and see if he got them all. But his approach was actually a pretty logical one, and you should use something like this. He looked at the different versions of the Bible, knowing that most people who read the Bible read it in more than one version or have read it in more than one version in their life. Like there's a Mandela Effect of the Lord's Prayer. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive those who we forgive our debtors. And in another version of it goes, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Well, the trespass version comes from the Book of Common Prayer, which came from the William Tyndale translation of the Bible. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors came from the King James translation of the Bible, which they're both so friggin' old. It's easy for both of them to make their way into ritual and folklore and memory without you firmly identifying this is the Book of Common Prayer version and this is the King James version. Okay? So, and he put together at one time a Bible library of all the different versions. So he's a very authoritative source. If you can't find him, PM me, and I'll dig him up. But just Google Mandela Effect Debunked, and he should come up in the first page. Okay. So that's some of the crap I found when I looked to see who's debunking the Mandela Effect, because my policy is always look at both sides of an argument. Right? I want to see if anybody's figured this out. Right now, I don't have a theory as to how it's happening that's any better than CERN is messing with reality in the quantum level, and our reality seems to be kind of merging with another, overlapping a little bit. I don't know. But that's not even a theory, it's just a guess. And it's not even a good guess, really. So I'm not sticking to it. And don't tell me my theory is crap, because it's not my theory. Don't tell me my guess is crap, because it's not even a guess I'm particularly sticking to. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. So, I'm the surly curmudgeon. Always put your clothes and weapons where you can find them in the dark.